Good evening, NATCA. It's great to be here. In fact, I'm honored to be here. And I want to thank Paul Rinaldi, Trish Gilbert, and NATCA for hosting another terrific safety conference. Yeah, that's right. You know, it's always a pleasure to join you at the Archie League Awards and to share in your recognition of the fine work that the FAA does on a daily basis. This is particularly true in times of crisis, when you have to solve a problem and you have to get it right the first time. I'm also pleased to be joining you tonight because this is the first time I've talked to any group since the administration released its proposed fiscal year 2018 budget last week. Now, I'm sure your attention, like that of many in this industry, is focused on the recommendation made by the administration that we develop a long-term plan for restructuring how we provide air traffic control services. And we've seen a number of groups come forward with their positions on this proposal, and I know that NATCA has registered your thoughts and your concerns. I'm encouraged that we are beginning what I expect will be a serious, and it needs to be a serious dialogue, and a thoughtful dialogue on what are the long-term needs we have at the FAA. And these conversations are going to be extremely important as we look ahead to ensure that we provide a safe organization, an efficient organization, one that meets the needs of the traveling public, and one that considers the future needs of our nation's airspace. You know, the job you do as air traffic controllers has changed exponentially since the early days, when Archie League first waved signal flags at airplanes at the end of a runway in St. Louis. Now, throughout my tenure at the FAA, one thing that you have heard me say is that we need to focus on the how. We all know what our mission is, but I've stressed that we need to change how we go about doing the business we do. And without a doubt, the path that we have traveled together over the last 5 years has made all of us at the FAA much smarter and more nimble. Now, I'd be the first to acknowledge that we would all like to move a lot faster than sometimes we're able to move. We've had to deal with shutdowns. We've had to deal with short-term extensions of our authorizations and appropriations. And then, of course, the daily challenges of ensuring the safety of our aviation system. And I believe that any fair review that is done of the past few years makes it clear to everyone that we have accomplished a great deal. ERAM is now in place throughout the entire system. New technologies, such as ADSB and Datacom, are helping you do your jobs in ways that you never thought possible before. At the same time, we continue to harness the precision of satellite navigation through our Metroplex projects and our efforts to replace outdated procedures with much more efficient PBN routes. And this progress is a result of something very, very important. It is due to the collaborative approach we've taken with industry and with you, our labor partners. Now, I expect that we're going to hear many points of view in the coming weeks and months about what happens next as we consider the future of our air traffic system. And no matter where everyone is in the debate, I think we all want the same thing, and that is an air traffic system that is second to none. Now, I expect that we'll have more details when the President submits his full 2018 budget to Congress in May. And in the meantime, we will continue to work with Congress on our current funding for the fiscal year that we're now in 2017. A few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to speak to a group of aviation industry leaders at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Aviation Summit in Washington. And I told the group the same thing that I'd like to share with you now. This public policy conversation that we are undertaking as an industry is only going to yield the best results if we keep the American people at the forefront of what we're doing. All you have to do is pick up an aerospace magazine or look at the latest technology blog, and you see that the fundamental definition of aviation has changed pretty dramatically just in the last few years. True, the commercial airlines and general aviation community still make up the vast majority of what we do today, and maybe they always will. But we've got a whole new cast waiting in the wings. They range from small unmanned aircraft to commercial space launches and space tourism. And the day isn't that far off when the skies around metropolitan areas will include a steady stream of drones delivering packages. And we've seen a few early proposals for pilotless airborne versions of Uber or Lyft. And I haven't even mentioned the various research projects into reducing or eliminating sonic booms that could make it possible for supersonic civilian flights across the United States. One thing I am absolutely certain of is that all of these users will expect something very important. They will expect to be able to use the National Airspace System to their benefit. Now, we call our efforts to do this integration, but another word for that is inclusion. Somebody is going to have to decide how to allocate this extremely valuable asset, the public's airspace, in a manner that is equitable and in a manner that is fair. And if we are to succeed, no one can be in a place where their strategy is simply to protect what they've already got. Now, in this debate, I think it's fair to say that everybody has a valid point to make. But it's also important to recognize that we aren't talking about building the air traffic system of today. We're also building an air traffic system for many, many decades to come. And regardless of the structure that might take, one thing is absolutely clear. We cannot let safety take a back seat. Over the decades, the FAA's dedicated workforce has taken its stewardship of our nation's airspace incredibly seriously. And America's unparalleled safety record is proof of both your vision and of your professionalism. On issue after issue, NATCA has worked with us to make this happen. And together, we've addressed issues like electronic distractions, fatigue, runway incursions, and many others. And we've collaborated on many safety programs like ATSAP, the ATO's top 5 hazard list, recurrent training, Take a Stand for Safety, and others. And I encourage controllers to continue to share safety information and insights widely. Through the non-punitive culture we've been able to foster through ATSAP, Controllers have submitted more than 127,000 safety reports since the program started 9 years ago. And these reports have enabled us to more accurately identify areas of risk, and we've issued 176 corrective actions as a result. Risk-based safety efforts like these and many others reflect an understanding that everyone here can agree with, that while today's system is unbelievably safe, we have to continually adapt to addressing emerging safety concerns. And the expertise that you all have as controllers makes you uniquely qualified in the upcoming debates over the future of what you do. I look forward to seeing where those conversations may take us. Now, before I close tonight, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the reason that we're all gathered here tonight. And that's because some of our colleagues performed their work particularly well when it counted the most. And I'd like to briefly highlight the story of one of tonight's award recipients. This past July, a Navy F-18 fighter experienced an equipment malfunction while on the way to Asia for a training exercise. Pilot was forced to shut down an engine and to declare an emergency. And to make matters worse, the weather around the Aleutian Islands was deteriorating, with visibility down to only a quarter mile. Now, to say this is a forbidding area of Earth is putting it pretty mildly. As you may know, this is the same area where they filmed that show, The Deadliest Catch. The pilot needed a lifeline, and he got it from Jessica Earp, a controller at the Alaska En route Center. Now, Jessica's knowledge of the Alaskan airspace and her quick thinking got this pilot safely to a runway on a tiny island in the Bering Sea. We're going to hear more about that, and we're going to hear other compelling stories this evening. And I want to congratulate all of the winners and all of those who were nominated. Whether it was mechanical problems, lack of experience, inattention, maybe some combination of all of those things, all of these situations led to moments in which controllers were the last line of defense between a pilot and a potentially unpleasant or disastrous outcome. But these controllers would be the first to tell you that what they did was not heroic. They simply came to work that day and were presented with a situation in which they had to think quickly and they had to make the right call. And they'll tell you something you already know. Every time a controller puts on that headset, he or she is one event away from possibly being nominated for this award next year. It's the nature of what you do. And I know I speak for myself, and I speak for the rest of Americans who travel in the system every day when I say to all of you, I'm grateful that you're there. Thank you for all you do.